Are you ready to climb aboard the DragonShip?
What's up, RP Thor? I wish you were here, man. We wish you were here, but thanks for the wonderful message. We love you. Thanks for supporting the fellowship. You the fucking man.
What's going on, everyone?
Fantastic skull, you guys. That's wonderful.
Awesome. Today is a fun one. It is there's going to be a lot of lessons that can be learned here. Essentially, we're going to be talking about battle scars. And what do we mean by battle scars? Essentially, through life, we have trials and tribulations that change who we are and build us into the men that we've become. And so we want to talk about it in two different aspects today. We want to talk about it with love and with life. So I can go ahead and kick us off with love and relationships with women, because the whole reason I'm even a dating coach, the only reason why I'm here is because of my poor decisions. I mean, just being honest. I was in a relationship where, and this tells you a lot about female nature. And also, I mean, yeah, I was a dickhead, and I shouldn't have done it. But my friend was dating a girl. I've been dating her for like 5-6 years. They had come to visit when I was in college. And during that night, they got in a fight and broke up. And we had sex. And then we got in a relationship. That completely destroyed my relationship with my friend. It also completely destroyed my relationship with that entire friend group. And now I kind of was on my own. And in this relationship with her, it was, I mean, God, it was fiery. But there were so many issues. She is diagnosed with BPD. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's always BPD, like actually diagnosed. But I ignored every red flag. And, oh, man. Throughout the time that we were together, she didn't really do anything. She didn't really work. She was still in school. She was 2 years younger than me. And it got to the point where one night with one of those fights, shit went a little haywire, and we got the cops called on us. And as we all know, when that occurs, they usually take the man, and they did. And I got charged, and it cost me over $10,000 in lawyers' fees and court costs to deal with this. It also forced me to have to move back home to my parents as an adult. And through that, I just my life completely went on hold. It didn't even just go on hold. It went backwards and on hold. Then, stupid idiot me, I did end up breaking up with her. And then about 2 years later, she came back into my life. And I went with it. And it was much of the same. Nothing crazy with getting arrested or anything, but it was much of the same. And then randomly out of the blue completely ghosted me and like gaslit me on it was an absolute mess. So not only did I go through this relationship where it completely screwed up the trajectory of my life, but then I did it again. I welcomed it again. And so that's all to say, like, essentially, you got to follow your gut, and you got to do what's important for you. And I mean, that's why I'm a dating coach today, is because I've learned how relationships actually function and not how that one functioned. So that's at least my story, my biggest screw up, and the battle scar that I have that carries with me. I mean, it took 5 years to even expunge this stuff off my record. So I've been carrying it for a long time. And it was only last year that everything is finally gone.
Wow, what a somber way to introduce it. Battle scars, those are hard ones, man. I think we all have some of those.
Huds, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that society pretty much gaslit you into like one-itis with this chick?
No, I don't think it was necessarily society. I mean, she just knew how to pull all the right strings. Like, the sex was good. She knew when to she knew how to manipulate me, how to pull me in each and every different direction, in a way that I didn't have the realization quite yet to be able to identify what the behavior meant. I was only reacting to the behavior without thinking of the behavior.
Typical cluster B stuff.
So Huds, what was the first indicator that you have now identified that you can give to other men so that they don't have to suffer the same defeat that you did?
Yeah, I would say that the best piece of advice that I could give is pay attention to what the other person is giving you versus what you're giving them. Everything is a give and take. So when you're giving more and you don't seem to be getting the same reciprocation, and then you have that conversation and nothing changes, pay attention to that. Don't let it go on.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Saturday, everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
We started off going to jail. So, you know, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to top that. But real quick, guys, let's go ahead that's a fantastic intro, by the way, but let's get this one super chat out of the way real quick and we can go into it. Siege D with the $1.99 super chat. Replay gang, got a Greyhound event. Talk to you later, Glenn. Nice. Well, hopefully Glenn will show up, and he will definitely see that. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate all support here at the DragonShip.
Glenn's been grinding away, so I know he's tired, but he'll get here as soon as he can. We can count on Glenn for one thing, and that's to show up loud and proud.
And we got some yep, and we got some old favorites here in the chat. We have Base Oracle and Filipino working at CVS and Mighty Zane so far right now. Thank you very much for attending the show. And I think that's a really, you know what? That's a really great time to move it over to the master himself, the minor god amongst men, Thor. Tell us about a battle scar revolving around a woman.
Let me get there. And for those of you that don't know, I have to share a couple things really quickly.
Yes, sir.
So in order to share this, go ahead and put me full screen.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you guys noticed a couple things. The Sons of Thor have come together for me in my time of need, and they have put together for me a studio to encourage me to broadcast a little bit more. And I think that was wonderful. I'm sitting in that studio unfinished right now, broadcasting from a laptop, and hopefully the quality is good enough since there's no microphones or cameras in here yet. And you can see the amazing props these guys picked out for me, the flaming sconces as if I'm in the belly of the dragon ship for which I am, And shout out Miko, shout out Glenn, shout out every member on this panel. You've all been a participant. And the Sons of Thor, I appreciate you for putting me in the studio and encouraging me to come out. For those that questioned me earlier, why am I wearing an eye patch? Well, we're going to get this out of the way once and for all. If you guys don't know, with the brain cancer, there can be a depth perception issue. So I am seeing slightly off on the depth perception. It's not a big deal, except when I want to read your chat. So chat, if I want to read your chat. So if I block one eye, I read the chat just fine. It's not sitting here like this. Now that that's out of the way, does Thor have some battle scars? Many physical, some emotional. Now, I totally understand where Huds is coming from. I guess I'll tell my story. There was a story where I had a little bit of BPD possibly, and I'll tell you how it started. It started when I was about 26 years old. Single father of two boys, a 2 and a 4-year-old. And the only way to really meet women at the time was out and about. And at that time, there was a national group called Parents Without Partners, which was essentially a way to get single parents to hook up, right? And reform families. This was a religious organization. And so I went to one of the events, and there was this gorgeous blonde. She had the perfect body. It looked so perfect here. Everything was great. You dance, you move around. She rubbed her poon on me on the leg, and that was it, right? So we went on some dates. It was really good. And things were clicking. There seemed to be chemistry. Well, she was love bombing me, and I was too naive to know it. And she was in a really nice house. Little did I know she had just entered a divorce and had to leave the house. She had 4 daughters. 4. She was 31 years old at the time. All with the same guy. But potentially you can see issues there. But I had 2 boys. So it seemed like, well, it's okay. And the dating seemed good. But the love bombing was unusual. I'd never experienced it before. And especially from someone that was really taking care of themselves. They'd had their teeth fixed. She'd had bolt-ons done, perfect shape. Definitely in advertising looking for a monkey branch. I didn't realize any of the sexual dynamics at the time. And I had been divorced for over a year, raising these children by myself. And so my battle scar is that she came to me crying that she had to leave her house and needed a place to stay for 3 weeks and needed to move her shit. So I put her shit in my garage and said, okay, 3 weeks is it. It's got to be it because I'm living my life. Well, as you guys understand, 3 weeks came and went, and then it got delayed, right? The place she was supposed to stay fell through. And then shit from the garage that was hers started showing up in my house. And I had everything situated so everybody could stay together. But, 2 of those girls were teenagers or getting there, preteens. 2 of those girls were younger. They fought like cats and dogs. This was not going well. And then I was super lucky because I heard her on the extension phone telling her girlfriends that me and her were going to be married in the fall. And we never had the discussion. As soon as she was out of the house, I had a U-Haul and load all of her shit. And when she came back, it was sitting there, and I said, where is it going? That was a big knockdown drag out, but it caught her by surprise enough to where there wasn't a fight. And I think it could have gone that way, but that was very fortunate. And we were able to take it to a place and drop it off. And she never came back, but it's a funny thing. A year later, she contacted me, told me how much she loved me. And I realized I narrowly had escaped a severe battle scar that could have ran right to the bone at that point. So that's kind of my horror story as far as dating is concerned, and why men need to be fully educated on how women think when it comes to dating and what their goals are. And they're generally quite a bit different than ours are. And there's a lot of assumptions made. And it over the years, it's made me a true believer in mode 1 communication. ARC, rest in peace. You got to get these things far out of the way, and you've got to actually isolate yourself when you start to date. so that you don't get taken advantage of. When I say isolate, I'm talking emotionally. And of course, the trend from the women is to do what with men right now? You need to be emotionally available. If you're not getting the women you want, it's because you're not emotionally available. Guys, it's all horseshit. You need to be your own mental port of origin. You must regulate your emotions, and you must be prepared to be an island in the sky so that they can look up to you. And none of that will matter if you can do that. So there you go. Hey, thanks, Leroy Gaines. I know the eye patch suits me, but I freaking hate it. But guess what? I can read your super chat. So thanks, brother.
So
That's
what?
a great story.
So what would be like the first initial red flag that you would advise other men to look out for? Would it be the love bombing?
Yeah, and the fact that even though we didn't have internet and stuff like that, she went out of her way. And of course, at the time, it seemed like, wow, she's going out of her way to express these feelings. It seemed good. But as I started to ask questions about her history, being married, for 10 years, having 4 children, she went to work for a construction company. There was some kind of issue between her and her husband. And then she said she thought her husband had an affair. And it just, if I would have had more experience, there would have been a ton of flags sitting there. She went, and when she separated with him, she went and got her boobs done. She got herself in shape.
Yeah, when you said she had a boob job because you call them bolt-ons, I was curious.
Yeah.
I was like, who paid for those, and how recent are they? That's the first thing I thought of when you said that.
So that was an effort for her to get back with her husband. He paid for them, so she was going to come back because she always wanted them. She was very flat-chested, and she wanted to feel better. So I knew there were body dysmorphic issues, but I didn't click on me because this happened so fast. This all happened within 3 months. And I didn't have the experience coming out of a marriage with a lot of women. And back then, the only way for us to learn this was through experience. So it was in front of my face, but it wasn't actionable as I wanted it to be.
Literally.
What shocked, and of course, yes, when she's fulfilling those needs that men all have all the time, that feels really good, and it's something you want to keep, and you want to keep on to it. And that's the fight. You got to be able to say no, and you got to have options, because as soon as there's options available other than what you've invested in, your life opens up to you, and that will remain with you through every marriage, every relationship. You have to have these social options. Doesn't mean you act on them, but you have to have them present.
That's a great point. Really great point.
So that's one of the emotional scars that propelled me forward, and I think it helped me select a far better candidate for a mate, for which I've been with for over 33 years now, and better looking too.
Now that actually makes me think of a question here, Thor. The gynocentric social order tells men to be more emotionally available, et cetera, when we know that's not what we're supposed to do. Since men and women are different, is it then the women who should be more emotionally available?
Well, let's take a look at this, guys. What does emotional availability mean? Emotional means to be able to express a innermost thought that can't really be associated with words or concepts easily. We often interchange feelings with emotions, but feelings, if you define it as such in the medical literature, is what's felt in the body. A pinprick, goosebumps, a sense of pain. Those are all feelings.
Yeah.
Can emotion generate feelings? Yes. Can feelings generate emotions? Yes. Are they interchangeable? Well, we've done so with our language now, but it confuses the issue. So what is emotional availability? Does that mean I'm ready to be weak? To me, it's just a euphemism for, be weak, be ready to be weak for me and capitulate to my will. That's how I see it being used. And it's fluffed up with a lot of language that makes someone feel good. And when I say feel good physically. It's good to get kudos and compliments, and a lot of that stuff's wrapped around that. Could I be emotionally available to hate and kill somebody? Yeah, that would. I mean, if I had enough hate in me and enough anger and a sense of protection, could I do it? Yeah, I would be considered emotionally able to do really bad stuff. So I don't like the term emotional availability because I don't think it actually does anything for us. It confuses the issue. What I think is much better is emotional regulation. And that's the ability to recognize that I'm having this emotion that could generate itself into physical feelings. And then I need to be able to sustain some sort of temperance over it to see if it's real. And you'll see guys saying, well, you got to be able to turn down sex and this and that. Okay, that's fine. It's one way to discipline through it. Discipline in exercise to push through hard feelings and emotions works really well. You can't just talk your way out of these emotions, but that's what a lot of people want to do. Actions fix the emotional availability thing. Taking actions, observing actions, and then to validate those actions through time. You have to add a time component to this because people will say anything, but they always tell on themselves in time. So I'm kind of rambling myself, but I don't like the way we use emotional availability in terms of dating or getting along with relationships. While it's useful to make the women feel good, and I would use it to get their attention, I would try to define it into something more useful for them. Because I think if you couch it right, you can use emotion to really, really help the girls. You can help them identify that vibe, what they really like, and then they mirror it and they're much better off and they're more fulfilled. That's really boils down to us as a man to fulfill our burden of performance, not only in relationships, but you guys realize we have a burden of performance to other men. I have it to you. I have it to everybody on this ship, and I have it to society as a whole, regardless of what I think of me as possibly a lone wolf. It's just not reality. If I'm going to swim in this pond, I'm also peeing and shitting in it, so I have a responsibility. Did I go too far?
No, that's great.
So.
I really love that, the emotional regulation, like ensuring that you are the rock, and she's going to consistently try and, like, women just naturally do it. They're going to consistently try and do certain things that are going to try and make you shaky to see how stable you really are. And so having that emotional regulation helps lead that ship, that relationship, to success.
Yeah. Huds, what else you got on this agenda, man? This is good stuff. I think we got to get through the rest of the guys on this.
Yeah, let's rotate around. So, Mike, let's hear it.
Oh boy, here we go. Man, you guys are gonna roll your eyes. You're gonna face palm. You're gonna do every gesture in the book, I bet.
Everybody starts somewhere, Mike.
Yep.
Get my smacks ready for you.
Here we go. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I had just turned 33 years old, and I was living in Indiana, and I got a job offer at a hospital in Oregon. And I went to that hospital, and I started my new job, which was about double the pay that I had ever had before in my entire life. So I'm all by myself. I'm living in a new state, a new region of the country. AJ, you used to be in the Pacific Northwest. You know how gorgeous it is up there. And probably my third day of work, I'm in the cafeteria, and I'm getting some food, and there is this cutie patootie standing there. And I walk up to her, and this is just the cutest little blonde, 19 years old, just absolutely adorable. And she had on a little bracelet with some colored rocks in it. Now, what I found out later was that was the Infinity Gauntlet bracelet, and she was slowly filling up with Infinity Stones in reference to Thanos and Marvel.
Wow.
And so every time, what I found out was every time Thanos acquired an Infinity Stone, she then, it was a subscription program. She got the same colored stone in the mail, and then she could add it to her bracelet. So I think she had 2 stones already in the bracelet. So I knew that. And so we struck up a conversation about Marvel. And within 30 seconds, I asked her on a date. I said, well, you know, what was the one with Ultron in it? Avengers.
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron was about to come out in like a week. And I said, well, let's go see it together. And she's like, okay. And, you know, everything went really well after the movie. We, you know, went for a walk in the park and everything. And I joke about how I kissed her on Uranus because they had in this park a replica of the solar system that spread across town, and it was to scale. And so, like the later planets, they're like a mile apart, you know, because it's just built to scale. And Uranus happened to be in the park, so we were walking around. We found a little plaque with a little ball. It's Uranus, and that's why I first kissed her. So I said, I kissed you on Uranus.
How apropos. Doesn't it seem like Uranus is always a mile away with some girls?
So anyway, things were fine until I screwed up. And by screwing up, I meant I dropped the L word first. Yeah. And even before that, I had this thing where I would get her a little Starbucks like chocolatey coffee drink every Monday morning, and I would draw a little heart on a Post-it note.
Oh, Jesus.
And I would take that Post-it note and I would stick it to it, and then I would give it to her.
You Rambo F-bomb.
God.
Yeah. And eventually things took a turn for the worse, and she's like, we need a break.
Oh.
And even though I was dumb, I knew what we need a break means. It means it's over. Now, what I did say, because I knew enough, was I don't do breaks. We're either together or we're not. So she dumped me. And then about 2 days later, I saw her making out with her new boyfriend on the hood of his shiny brand new Camaro.
Oh, dude, that's crushing. That's crushing.
Yeah. It's always telling when they need space, and you got to meet space.
Yep. So what I learned from that is basically everything I did, except maybe kissing her on Uranus and then joking about how I kissed you on Uranus. That was probably the smoothest thing I did. Everything I did other than that was wrong. Don't do any of that. Like drawing a little heart, you know, on things and giving it to her, and consistently. Like she didn't earn shit, and I'm just buying her this little Starbucks drink every Monday morning because I love her. Like, no, that's woman shit. And so that was obviously wrong.
Did you do the text thing too, where you're always texting?
Good morning, babe.
How's your day?
Did you make it home safe?
Well, she would text me to say she made it home safe, but yeah, I did do like the Monday morning good morning text. I wouldn't text her good morning every morning because we would bump into each other at work, right? She was a receptionist down in one of the clinics, and I was in IT, so we were not in the same department. Want to make that very clear. We were not in the same department. But and even though there was no awkwardness afterwards, like from an HR standpoint, guys, never date a coworker. I don't care how much she loves you. Yes, I don't care how much you love her. Don't do it. If she's into you, you tell her, well, if this is going to happen, one of us has to quit, and it's not going to be me.
Yeah. Can I give you a crude tip on if you run into that, what you might do?
Go ahead, sir.
So if you do that and you are a texter and you suspect that the space and everything is coming, one thing you could do, remember we've talked about emotional spiking?
Mm-hmm.
And this will be hit and miss. You got to have a bold enough personality to do it. Instead of sending her that text, send her, you would not believe this, the chick I just saw, hot AF last night or yesterday afternoon. And then leave it and see what happens. And then when it comes back, say, oh, I thought I was chatting so-and-so. He would have been really interested in her. That's why I said so. That's it. You drop it and you just hit the hamster wheel with that underhand stroke with a slight twist. See what happens.
Oh, man.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Dude, that's some healthy overt dread.
Exactly.
It is, but it's plausible deniability.
Yeah, I like it.
That is using her tool against her is what's called a power flip to pass shit test. And if she is interested in other things, she'll hesitate now.
Yeah,
I actually just did this one recently. I sent a text dealing with certain things with my girlfriend, like everything's still fine. We're just navigating life. But I did this recently, and I texted her, and I was like, "Hey, I I have a question that's just really been bothering me, and it's instilling dread." She's freaking out, and then I just ask, "Why do cats have whiskers?" So it's like it's instilling like a little bit of something, but then pulling it back. So I find it really funny how you can manipulate certain things like that to re-steer your ship.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say manipulate. I would say it's proper use of language, intuition to keep that boredom out and protect yourself as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I would tell other guys is you need to maintain your masculine frame. Even when it's the absolute cutest 19-year-old, was a cheerleader in high school, nerdy little cutie you've ever seen in your entire life, with big blue eyes and long flowing blonde locks and a perfect butt and perfect boobs. Like,
damn, Mike, you really missed this girl.
What was her name?
Wait. This is starting to sound like my ex.
They all can go feral.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Nuke, to answer your question, it's the Pacific Northwest, so AJ's gonna roll his eyes when he hears her name was Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I worked with a guy whose name was Ryan. His daughter's name was Ryan as well. So
yeah. So now there is a happy ending to this. So she dumped me, right? And I went on with my life, and I met Donovan, and the rest is history, right? Well, I ran into her because she quit her job there at the hospital about a year after she dumped me. I ran into her on the street.
Yeah.
She had gained probably about 200 pounds.
Sure.
Damn, you really missed
massive.
out. You really missed out then.
I may have kissed her on Uranus, but she turned into Jupiter.
Exactly. And hey, you mentioned something. I'm going to stop the show, guys, just for a second. Shout out to everybody in this chat. Love you all. You're all doing great. Love the interaction from all the channels. Subscribe to Nuke, subscribe to AJ, subscribe to Wraith, subscribe to Mike Steele, and to Huds, of course. Guys, we stream to all these channels because it's about getting the message out and our maximum here on the DragonShip. A rising tide lifts all ships. You're the ships and we're the tide, and you can become a part of that tide by supporting this channel. And shout out to Donovan Sharp, OG, who's been trying to raise that tide for many years, a good old friend, invited me to the CME a few years ago. Looking forward to the time when I can come back and work with him and Devin again. So quick shout out, back to you, Mike.
Oh, I'm all done. So I imagine Huds is, unless you guys have questions, I imagine Huds is going to pass it to Wraith next.
Yeah, yeah. I'm ready to go. Wraith, it's been a while. How you been?
Yeah, I'm back. So
nice stash.
It's pretty boring because I haven't had any of those experiences.
Wraith is real old school. He just took control right out. He came out of the womb and said, "Hey, bitch, out of my way. Here we go."
I mean, if you want to go back to when I was like 14 or 15, maybe, but
sure, everybody starts somewhere.
I mean, I guess I was 15 dating a gal, and she did something. Now this is how old I am, but we were supposed to go on a Halloween hayride. I couldn't go. She said she wasn't going to go, and then she went, and I found out that she kissed some other guy on the hayride, and I just said, "Yep, that's it." Matter of fact, I was listening to the song the other day. When I broke up with her, I played "I'm Not in Love" by 10cc, and beyond that, I haven't had any issues. I kind of was the one that taught me women.
Interesting. What would you say in any other like relationships would have been like the hardest? I guess maybe not fight or whatever, but like the hardest struggle with other women in your life. And I don't know if I'm being clear enough. I mean like the the biggest struggle that you may have had, like in any type of relationship that you had to overcome with her?
Well, it could be like this too, Wraith. I mean, as much as you can, you've had interactions with women at work that have been struggles. Those could be battle scars too, and lesson learning if anything like that ever caught you off guard.
Not really. I mean, I don't react. I mean, I'm pretty stoic, so I don't react to a lot of stuff. And in my personal relationships, like I tell everybody else, set ground rules before you even start the relationship.
Oh, sure. It doesn't have to be about you. It could be recognizing them and like teaching your mentors, you know, like I saw this happen to these guys at work, and this is how the outcome was. If you can think of anything, we can come back to you if you want.
Like I said,
No worries.
I pretty much control, you know, the environment around me when I'm out in public, and also control the environment inside my household. So, you know,
tell us what's your steps to do that from the beginning. What led you to that realization? I'm not sure you were born with it, but you came to that as becoming a man and fulfilling your performance.
I guess it was, you know, my mother and father got divorced, and that was the big life lesson for me on, you know, that and the first girl I, you know, was dating at 15. I see my father go through hell, and I said, yeah, that's never going to happen to me.
Oh.
And then, you know, the first time it did happen, I said, it's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, pain's a crazy motivator, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I said, it really wasn't my pain; it was my father's pain. But you know,
he sounds like a good man.
He remarried and repeated, and I just, you know, I sat through my teen years watching his second marriage, and I said, yeah, this is not the way I'm going to run my life.
Yeah,
and my father was very manly in some respects, but very simpy in other respects. When it come to my mom, you know, it was give her everything that she wanted, and, you know, deny himself. And I decided I wasn't going to live that way.
So it sounds like you got to learn from someone else's mistakes by observing them, kind of like what we're doing in the show here today. So, you know, we've made mistakes, and maybe some other men out there can learn from them so they don't have to make the exact same one.
Right.
Well, you know, my father, you know, he tried to run a very traditional family, but I think, you know, after the 50s and the 60s, you know, because it was 69 when they got divorced, women were coming into their own. And I think my mother, you know, she tried to assert herself as, you know, the leader of the family. And I think my father capitulated to that inside the household. But he didn't do it outside the household, but he did it inside the household. And, you know, like I said, by 69, they couldn't stand to be around each other. And, you know, my mother left, took my sisters, and left me and my brother with my father. And I think my father, you know, he battled trying to get her back and stuff like that. And
did that change your approach to how you pursued women?
I don't think other than the first girl when I was either 14 or 15.
Okay.
Other than the first girl, it didn't with her.
Yeah.
That taught me that, you know, my behavior or my actions could cause me pain. And I just didn't want that happening.
Oh, it'd be interesting to sit there and tease that out of you, because you have had some of the most amazingly successful relationships out of everybody here over a span of decades that almost no one has accomplished.
Here.
So, yeah. And so it probably just seems effortless to you, but I promise it probably isn't. It is quite intentional on your part.
I think so. I mean, it's probably second nature now, but I think, with my first wife, there was a lot of intentional,
Yeah.
Behavior and control so that I always maintained the right perspective in the family. It wasn't, we had, we had a joint account, but, uh, she paid the bills, and then any money outside the bills was, had to be okay by me. And, my second wife, she had her account, I had my account. And with this one, I have my account, she has her account. So,
And just for clarity, there was no divorce. You were successful to the end. Yeah.
right. But my two previous wives passed away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much to learn from that, Ray. That's fantastic. Love to pick your brain on all that stuff. Huds, shall we give the other guys a shot at some of these old battle scars from their relationships?
I think that sounds like a good plan. I want to hear from the dog, not you, Nuke.
Oh, okay. Ashley, go ahead. Go ahead. Talk
Well,
actually, it's kind of like wailing. Like Shibas, they kind of wail. It's kind of weird, but
In what sense?
like it's more like a scream. When
like
they-
wolves,
Okay.
Yeah.
panic boxes.
Like a husky.
Yep.
Sort of, but like higher pitched because they're smaller. There's only one battle scar, and this is the one that a lot of men don't want to admit. But I got raised to be a defective woman.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's the
It's
only.
true.
This is what 90% of the men are dealing with now today. We are raised to be defective women. I love my mother, but she raised me to be something that I was not, and that was a girl. And I had to overcome lots and lots of, did a lot of inner work in my 20s, found the red pill, was able to make sense of this stuff and what was going on and all that. And the downward effects of society for men being trained to be women is what we're seeing now, right? We're seeing guys that no loyalty to each other, they screw over their friends, they screw over anything for a piece of box or an opportunity. Like we're seeing guys that constantly think they have to open up to women and open up to everyone emotionally. And a lot of people say, well, it's healthy for men to do that. I'm like, if you have a normal testosterone level, you don't even have to open up to people like that. You'll be like, hey, you'll tell your bros while you're working on the car together, or while you're playing sports, while you're lifting weights, hey, this girl did this, and they'll be like, that sucks, man. And then you like talk about it for 10 minutes, and then you're going back to lifting or fixing the car, doing whatever masculine activity that you're doing, right? I don't know who said that we have to sit for 2 hours in front of someone we don't know to talk about why a girl left us or why this, like that, right? That is a female thing, right? So I think most men's battle scars all stem from they wanted to make us into little women or raise us girls. They give us ADD medication in school, and then they tell us to act and emote more like women, and that being women is the right way, toxic masculinity. And then now men are 28, 29, wondering why they feel depressed all the time. Their testosterone levels are low and plummeting. Why girls don't like them that much. It's because you never got in touch with your masculine essence, the real you, right? And you're constantly having to apologize to other people. So every problem with a woman I've had before a certain point, it was because of that. Now I do still have problems with women. It's part of life, Women they will always be around, and no matter what happens, they will always be around. So get used to it. But now it's like, yeah, that's what women do. It's whatever. I can't change that, and that's okay. I accept women for what they are, not for what they can never be to me. So that's the big difference. And that makes you feel much more masculine, guys, than constantly trying to explain women's behavior and talk and talk and talk. You just simply say, a girl leaving me is her problem, not mine. She hand delivered a handsome, strong, cool guy into the world. That's her problem. I'm going to go back to doing what I do, and probably going to get a younger, hotter girl. Like, that's her problem. I'm sorry. I'll feel sad, but at the end of the day, I'm a man, and men don't sit around and talk. We do. So, yeah.
So I think that leads to probably the $1 million question of the podcast today is, Nuke, what would you tell other young men out there who got raised by either a single mother or just by their parents in general to be the defective girl? How do they, once they get away from their parents and get out on their own, how do they fight that and undo the damage?
Step one, no matter what you do, you're going to be the villain. Get used to it. There is no villain arc. There is no villain era where you're bad and reclaiming your masculinity. No, no matter how good or bad or how understanding you are or how much of an asshole you are, you will always be the villain. A Brazilian football legend, Kaká, I don't know if you guys heard, his wife came out publicly now saying that she divorced him, a Brazilian football legend, because he was too perfect and too nice. He was too good of a father, right? I'm not saying, I'm not saying go be a bad father, go do this stuff, right? But understand that no matter how good and perfect, and how much money you make and clout and fame, even the people you love could turn around and leave you and all that stuff, right? There is no forever, and you just got to accept that you will always be the villain. And once you accept that as a young man, you know, a lot of young men learned this with Trump. They saw Trump be an absolutely asshole to everyone in the political sphere, right? Not to cross over too much, but a lot of guys saw, wait, this guy's like crapping on like all these other guys and everyone likes him. And it's because once you accept that dark part of yourself that tells other people to go F themselves, and I'm not doing that because it doesn't benefit me or the people I love, then you're going to start really reconnecting with your masculinity, because everyone thinks masculinity is setting yourself on fire for people you don't know who don't give a shit about you. Set yourself on fire for your mom. Set yourself on fire for your brother, for your friend. You know, don't set yourself on fire to make somebody you don't know comfortable. You know, that's not what masculinity is and never will be. So that's step one.
And now you know why everybody loves Nuke. He's just nailing it like it is. And what a great response. Hey, real quick, chat, love what you guys are doing. Welcome, all of you. If you would like to ask a question at the end, please drop a super chat and we'll get right to that. I will at the end. There's a couple of my bookmark that are very good statements, and we'll cover some of that. But if you want questions, please support these channels. It's the only way we can keep this dragon ship afloat in the format that you guys like, and provide a badass future for everybody out there if you want to come and join.
And then to wrap up quickly, Mike, step two is, what do you want as a guy? When was the last time somebody asked you, young man, if you're in the chat, what you wanted? You're probably doing the script. You're going to go to college. You're going to get a job. You're going to marry your college sweetheart. You're going to do everything everyone else told you that you think you wanted. But what if you just want to go travel? You know, what if you want to do something else, like a different job or a different thing? What if you want to move somewhere out of the country? What if you want to go to Mexico and do hookers and blow? Like, be careful, right? But that's what you may want to do. And that's part of being a masculine man, is to have an effect on the world the way you see fit, you know, power. So ask yourself, what do you want? If you don't know, find it. It could take you years, 5 years, 10 years. Trust me, when you get to a certain point and you finally understand what you want, you achieve the life you want and lose a lot of people along the way, you're going to be like, whoa, this is what it takes to be happy, is always prioritizing what I want first. And everyone who wants to get on the program can get it. If they don't, goodbye. Simple as that.
Nuke, I have to, that was beautiful.
Yeah, like, it was all Tadashi. He whispered it in my ear.
I just want to say, like, what you said there, the way to be a masculine man is to leave an impact on the world the way you see fit. I love that.
As much as you can. Like, you're not gonna, like, you know, start a war. You're not Genghis Khan, right? But like, when I say impact on the world, it means I want this job, I go get it. I want to move here, I go get it. I want this girl wants me to go do a baby shower. I don't want to go to that baby shower. Sorry, I got better things to do. You know, just basically, you do what you want within reason, and you leave an impact, and you don't apologize for doing what you want. It's simple. You don't have to check in with anybody, right? That's it. That's why the red pill, a lot of people hate the red pill, because yes, we commandeer a lot of, like, the tradcons kind of like the red pill because we say lift, be better. They like that part of the red pill, but the part that the red pill is saying, hey, Don't worry about anyone else. You do what you want to do. You are first in your life. Find people that think like you and want that are good people. And always, your happiness is your own problem. It is not anyone else's but your own. If you think that a president or a church or anything can hand deliver you happiness, not even in the Bible it says that. Your happiness is your own. Your morale is your own problem. So yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, because even in our space, realize, guys, there's a battle for moral high ground right now. There's red pill, holy rollers, there's tradcons wanting to assign moral judgments and moral rules around how we respond here. But when you look at the red pill, it is empirical. It's empirical truth. There is no moral assignment. Now, that doesn't mean, as a dominant masculine presence in this world, that you don't have honor and have defined evil in your own life. But you'll see a lot of people projecting that onto what has been developed in this space that is so powerful. And when we tend to do that, we're going to water it down into little cult-like followings. So be cautious, because you'll see a lot of folks that enter here want to ascribe those morals, or at least have them live alongside the information in some amalgamation to spread this around, because it is really important stuff. I can't blame them for that, but I believe that it weakens it, and that's not to say that what they say is not important. It's just that it does affect disinformation and changes it for the masses.
Well, but you need to think about it this way too. You have to be able to live those values, truth, honor, and
Yes.
way too many people, they want to side with the people of truth and honor, but they can't live those values.
Yeah.
And that's where they fail. Way too many times that's where they fail. And on my chest I have an old Viking saying, if truth and honor aren't the law, then it's better to follow truth and honor. So,
what is right is not always popular, or what is popular is not always right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. Like I said, guys come into the space and I want to be this person. And I tell people, when you talk about values and stuff of who you are, are you selecting those values because you have that, or are you selecting those values because you need that?
Yeah.
And when you start deciding that you need it, that's when you start working on the process of getting them, because you have them and you own them. And, like I said, you know yourself, success rate's about 20%, 20 to 30% of people that can actually change those presuppositions and values and become the person they want to be. And that's where the criticism comes from the other 70%.
Mm-hmm.
A true guitar right there. Yep.
Wow.
All right.
Fantastic. All right, finally, AJ. Oh, wait, before we do that,
I was gonna say, do the super chat first.
Yep.
I have some stuff that's going to go back. Chuck made some points. I'll get to those at the end, but man, look at that one right there. Thank you, Chuck the Painter. Mike, please announce this one. This one hits me right here, guys. So.
Absolutely. Now, I am going to do it in a French accent, of course.
Yes.
Since he is French. Chouk the Painter, 5 euros. Thanks, guys, for the pods. Out of all the men here, you guys provide the most down-to-earth, within to reach content out there.
What a great one.
That one hits me too. I really appreciate that, because there's been so many people that come in and out of the space that just are not authentic. And oh man, I always love hearing people say things like that, because that's what we're all trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do.
I think the maxim that we abide by when we climb aboard the DragonShip is probably the overriding value that doesn't have to be popular, but it will be eternal. And that is that old Viking maxim that a rising tide lifts all ships. So we're going to be that rising tide. And so even though we might talk about really bad stuff, I think that's what really shines through. And for those that are in the watch right now and in the chat, these things aren't ad-libbed. All of us talk, we have our meetings, and we really try to go the extra mile to at least keep, because panel shows can really get off the rails and they can turn into other things. But we really try to stay at least reasonably focused on a couple things. So it is a different direction and maybe not so popular because it's not so controversial. But I have to, actually honor these guys for the efforts that they put into place as Drakars and the fact that they do their homework and grind. So thank you guys for that. And now you know a little bit more about the DragonShip.
And in appreciation for Chouk Le Painters, $5 super chat, he has a question here, which I will not read in a French accent because this is serious. Hey guys, have you ever had that thing where you meet a chick where you think she's adorable, but for some reason you feel nothing for her because you just look at her as if she was your little sister, and of course she ends up falling hard for you? Yes, I have had that.
Yep.
Everybody needs to go at this one. That's why I started. Yeah.
Oh boy, this is really easy. This is an easy one.
All right. Well, then if it's so easy, Mr. Hotshot, take it away.
So let me guess. You met a girl and you treated her below you as if you were a little sister. I wonder how that could work. And I wonder how game works when you talk to women, when you don't pet them and you tease them as if they were a little sister. It's almost as exactly how you're supposed to treat women when you talk to them. And it's exactly what they want from you. And they fall in love with you. I wonder how that could have happened. That you did exactly what you're supposed to do when you meet attractive women.
You mean a guy who just gets it?
Yeah. So yeah, there it is. Yeah, you didn't pedestalize her. You put her below you. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like human value. Just you tease her like she's your little sister, and she end up liking it because women like to be teased. They like to be playful. Amazing how that works. Instead of pedestalizing them. There you go.
Yeah, I when I was working at a gas station, there was a gal who was what we would call like fat but cute. She was really into me to the point where she like gave me a handcrafted Valentine's Day card.
Is that what the kids are calling? Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
Oh,
handcrafted.
No, as in she painted with literal like acrylic.
Oh,
paint.
Mike, I know what you're talking about. I had a girl that I dated once that she created. It was one of those massive cards. Like it was like this big. I don't know if you can even tell for scale. It was just massive, and she painted Kid Cudi for me, and it was amazing. And what do you know? The girlfriend that I talked about earlier that got me arrested, she forced me to throw it out. I still fucking miss that thing. It was beautiful. But okay, go on. Sorry.
But yeah, basically, like I'm like this chick's fat. This is going nowhere. But you could tell she was into me, and all I did was ignore her. The more I ignored her, the more she would come in when I was working my shift just to say hi and buy a stick of gum, literally, a pack of gum, just so she could say hi to me. We've all seen that, so I didn't take it anywhere. So, AJ, we're gonna shift topic here at the bottom of the show to life battle scars, not love battle scars. But
I wanted to answer the question too. Can I answer John that question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got a question. Chuck the Painter. So if you have that girl that's kind of like you're seeing her as her sister, you got to just reframe it so that when her head is stuck in the dryer, you say, "Stepsister, why is your head stuck in the dryer?"
Oh dear God. Help me, stepbrother, I'm stuck. Help me, not brother, I'm stuck. Anyway, AJ, you have the final battle scar story. I think we all might have an idea what it's going to be.
You already know it's going to be the saga of Deanna. Before I get into that, big shout out to the guys in the Beer Club, Dragons membership, and the Hot Dude Army. See all you guys in the chat. Elliot, Abdel, and a few others. So
shoot, we had a good meeting last time, didn't we? That was like
we did have a good meeting.
Jeez.
Yeah, I showed up late and still was in there for like another 2 hours.
Yeah.
So the saga of Deanna, though, this is the one that brought me to the red pill. This is after I got out of a 2-year relationship where I was probably the other dude. Went on about 10 months single. Found RSD, which at the time they were pivoting to more purple pill content. So they're giving you all the red pill knowledge, but not any of the stuff to actually make it work. So that got me into a relationship with this chick named Deanna, who I was with for 3 years, almost married her. Looking back at the relationship, she had all the signs of what you would call a covert malignant narcissist, which is like one step away from being a sociopath. She gets off on causing pain and uses sex as a weapon. So we're on our third date, and this is kind of where I kind of made it official with her. Brought coffee over to her place. She literally shoves her ass in my face, and I fell in love with that ass. Not gonna lie there. And if you know anything about cluster Bs, they love control. Well, I was working with my last company up in the Seattle area, and I was looking at moving to Texas anyways. I brought that up right from the very beginning. I didn't get a job with Meta. I interviewed with them down here in Fort Worth. She tries to take control of the relationship again. She says, hey, let's wait a year. Well, before she said that, I applied for a couple other positions down here in the DFW area, got in with the job that got me moved down here. And I took it. I said, hey, I'm taking this job. If you want to stay here, thank you for the last few months. If you want to come with me, be more than happy. We already had a trip booked to Prague and everything. So I was like rewarding this chick for literally nothing. Spent a week in Prague after we moved down here. We almost broke up before we went to Prague. We ended up having makeup sex in Prague. Fun as hell, by the way. Yeah. So over the next 2-year time period, lots and lots of fights happen. March 15th, 2021. Actually, it was the 5-year anniversary of my divorce after my 8-year marriage. My parents' house burned down. I fly up there a couple days later to help them out with things. She invites a coworker over to my house, the one that I paid for. She's not on the loan or anything. Cheats on me with the guy. Tells me 3 days later with the fake crocodile tears just to see my reaction. Because again, like I said, covert malignant narcissist, she gets off on people's pain. I end up trying to figure out like what the hell is going on with this relationship. I'm doing everything right, getting a little pissed off. YouTube algorithm brings me some blue pill fair recovery videos, which then the algorithm somehow shifts me over to Rich Cooper. Started watching Rich Cooper's Before the Sharing Wreck series, which then he had Rolo on there a couple times. That brought me to Rule 0. And then I started following John Hogwood, MLD, Modern Life Dating. Started following his content. Booked a consult call with him after a fight. He's like, dude, I can't tell you what to do. I recommend you leave her. But if you want to stay together, this is how you should do it. Tried doing all that stuff. Again, you cannot game a chick that's got borderline personality disorders, psychopathy, sociopathy, narcissistic personality, or histrionics personality, so the cluster Bs. Fast forward to December, things are really bad. January 4th, she ends up packing up all her shit after a fight in the middle of the night as I'm on my way to work. She leaves. Some things happen. I get into the Masculine Empowerment Network, and I remember the morning clearly. It was when Apex Mindset was doing his brief or his presentation. I happened to pull out her old phone. That's technically my phone because I'm paying on the bill and everything. And I find that the dude that she cheated on me with flew up there 2 days after she got back up to Seattle area to have some more fun. So I instantly go like fucking scorched earth mode. I fucking cancel the phone bill. I drink a whole entire bottle of wine in like less than 30 minutes because I'm like, it's either wine or whiskey. Shut everything off, go like full friggin' no contact with the chick. And then I spent 3 months literally watching as much of Dr. Sam Vaknin's content as possible because something's not right in my head. I'm like, what's going on? I know something's wrong with me because I'm picking all these bad women, but what is the commonality between all these women that I've dated? And they're all exhibiting signs of cluster B personality disorders. So, and now here I am on the DragonShip as a Hussar, helping you guys out.
And you're a Drakkar too, man. So it really it's funny how synergy can get you where you want to go when you realize you want to go somewhere. It's sitting back and being woe is me victim mentality that will keep you behind. You did the fundamental thing that was required. Take action.
And the funniest thing about all that is, so after she left me, she ends up moving in with her aunt. Her aunt contacts me 6 months later saying, hey, do you want your phone back? I'm like, why the hell are you contacting me, Jules? And Jules is like, she slept with my boyfriend because I asked her to help me out with bills and clean the house. So again, she's in the sex as a weapon to get what she wants.
Jeez.
That's wild. Oh my God.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Dude.
During my whole beginning of the RP journey, like it was when I found Fresh and Fit and like they were going off on the body counts. So I made the mistake of asking her what her body count was, and she's like, "You're probably somewhere around 75." This is a
Multiply by 3.
30-year-old woman that's slept with 75 guys already. That's been in multiple relationships.
Well, is it the number of bodies, AJ, or is it the amount of strokes that count?
Or the mile, or
Think-
the
Is there a number of strokes, or is it the amount of bodies?
Well, it's like I still stay in contact with her on. We have contact from time to time. Turns
Yo,
out that
you should have sex. You should have sex with her aunt.
Oh, we've talked about that just for shits and giggles. Her aunt's decent looking for a 50-something-year-old chick. So I wouldn't put that past myself.
And she won't get pregnant.
He's a savage Drakkar for sure.
But yeah, apparently like Deanna's cheated on every guy that she's ever been in a LTR with. So
wow,
damn.
Yeah, that's some scars.
So what did you learn from that you would tell other men to look for coming at them a mile away?
The love bombing, like Thor's mentioned earlier, all cluster Bs do love bombing like there's no other. You will feel like $1,000,000 when you're with a cluster B chick. The second that you piss them off, though, they get all of them getting what they call a narcissistic injury. They will use any vulnerability you've shared with them and destroy you with it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And like all women will bring up the past and do things like that, but pay attention to that initial rise, because that love bombing is a clear indicator, and then how frequently and what they're trying to attack. Because if they know your weakness and then they consistently use that, like think of this situation that's occurring and why it's happening. Sometimes people say things because they're frustrated. Sometimes they say things with other intention, and typically cluster B is always another intention, a deeper, darker intention.
Yeah, it's always a three phase thing. You got the love bombing phase, which is initial. Then they start devaluing you, and then they discard you, and then they'll come back, and the cycle gets faster and faster and faster every time.
Yep.
Yes, sir. 100%. All right.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, if you want to go ahead and do the super sticker and the super chat here, and then we'll transition into talking about some of the other battle scars we have, just about life in general.
Well, we're gonna play here. We're here at the bottom of the show. We're gonna play a little clip here for Thor's book. Then we will get to those.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna pivot.
Hold on. We need to play this. We definitely need to play this. This was a great idea, Mike, because if you want to avoid battle scars like us, you need to read Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence.
Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis. Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.
And there you have it. You read that book, and then you most likely will be like Wraith and not have to deal with a lot of the issues that we've dealt with.
Or when you do encounter these issues, they just bounce off you because you have already pre-decided how you're going to handle them, much like Wraith. Wraith sets the standards for his professional, friendships, and relationship interactions before things even happen, so that when something is violated, the answer is already cached. It's in the chamber, ready to go. So he doesn't even have to think. It comes out like instinct.
Yeah, there's plenty of Wraith in that book for sure.
So let's what we're gonna do now, guys, is we got 2 super chats here, and then we're gonna go around the horn in reverse, and we're gonna talk about battle scars that are not love related. So anything but women. So it could be career, it could be friendships, could be life, could be family. But we'll just do another round with something a little bit different. But we're going to shout these out here. John Kings with the $20 super sticker.
Dang, I wish I had a sound drop for that. John Kings from MEN and BLM. We appreciate you. I see your progress. A big shout out to you. Hope to see you on the Dragons membership one day.
Well, I'll go ahead and do it in lieu of your button there, Thor.
All right.
Odin.
Skull. Yeah, I don't have any of that here, but it's good.
We need to shame these whores.
Shame these horse. And Idar Santos, $20.
Wow.
Thank you very much for the support, Mr. Santos Antonio Banderas. Thank you for the inspirational, actionable advice. You are all very fine gentlemen who get all the ladies. Thank you, Idar, for your support here in the DragonShip today.
I look forward to this every week. Awesome.
So, sorry, Huds. I keep taking control from you.
Oh no, that's totally fine. Like you're totally good. We're kind of tag teaming, so it's totally fine.
Right.
But yeah,
I
actually will start if you don't mind.
Okay.
Just because it's still on my mind. So we're essentially going to go around and we're going to do, as Mike explained. And I think the biggest one for me actually does kind of relate to the relationship that I was in, but in a different way. Now, when I was graduating college, I had the opportunity to work at Amazon at a higher level position. I had the opportunity to move to Atlanta for a very nice IT consulting gig. And then my third option was to work for Aldi, the grocery store. Yep. Now, I didn't know what to choose. And because I had just gotten into this relationship literally in September, and I had to make my decision by January, I ended up picking Aldi specifically because then she could move with me and we would stay together. She essentially made it so, like, if I picked going to Atlanta, which is like, I'm from Philadelphia, so Atlanta very far away. If I worked for Amazon, I would be up in Boston. So I picked the one that was Virginia, Aldi, not too far away, so that she could come with me, because otherwise she was going to break up with me. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. The Aldi job pays very well. Lots of benefits. Let's go for it. Well, that was utter chaos. There I am. Essentially, she's not working and I'm paying for everything. And I am working these like 13 to 14 hour long days and then coming home to a nagging partner who's just causing problems. And things just were not improving. And then even like by making that decision, like, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a shooting that occurred in Alexandria, Virginia, of Steve Scalise. It was the baseball shooting when they were playing the baseball game that morning. And I was there at the store. It's all, if you guys know how Aldi's typically are, it's like all windows. So I'm there and I'm seeing these SWAT people running around. And I'm like, oh, like, is there a bear? And I'm like, thinking back on that thought process, I'm like, why the hell would there be a bear here? But that entire thing was a mess. So I was directly involved with that shooting, having to manage. I was working with all women at the time, so having to manage them and make sure that they were calm. And then I had to work with the FBI over the next, I guess, whatever it was, like whether it was FBI, CIA, I don't know exactly. But we had to lock down like 1 square mile, and I was the one who was in charge because it was my store. So yeah. I had to constantly be working with them. It was locked off to the public while we were figuring everything out. And God, like, I'm going to be completely raw here. When after all this happened, that night, I got a call, not from my boss, but from my boss's boss. And she just she essentially asked, like, are you okay? And like, I still, like, there's like trepidation in my voice. And I was like, yeah, like I'm hanging in there. And then she's like, okay, great. Thank you. And then hung up. And dude, right afterwards, I just like broke down in tears because like my parents heard about it. They were like, that's where Alex is. And I'm just, it was just so fucking emotional with like everything that was going on. And like, I'm just happy to be alive and nothing worse happened. And it was such a toxic environment and so many toxic things happening. Nobody seemed to care about me. And so that all crashed and burned. And then we moved. And then that's when it was after we moved that the other incident occurred where I ended up going to jail. And so what I've learned from this stupid decision is that you need to make decisions for yourself, not for anybody else. And what I did in that situation was I was defining my life based on somebody else's needs, not my own.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, I got a lot of random nonsense that's happened in my life. But I stay strong because I have people like you guys that keep me on board.
Well, that's really important. Yeah, definitely. That's what this is about, is a brotherhood for sure.
Yeah, it's that's what I was saying. Like, you have to ask yourself what you want. Who's the most important person in your life? And it's always going to be you.
Yeah.
Well, it
It's
needs
always
to be
not
you. If it's not currently, it needs to be.
I mean, you can survive.
Yep.
You know, guys do it all the time. Look at the church right now. Guys are foaming at the mouth to defend their wives and people who don't, you know, who they're not the first choice in their life, right? And I think part of the envy is that men that value themselves, first off, there's nothing more attractive yet scary for a woman than a man who knows his own value, right? So, you know, we had that that calculator, that how rare are you calculator as a man, and most men in this space and followers and all that stuff put their stuff in. They're all within the top 5% in terms of height, money, and that's, you know, and men are starting to think like, wait, so I don't have to do everything my wife says, and I don't have to be part of this institution. I don't have to work this hard so I can impress people I don't know. I don't have to buy a new car to impress people I don't care about, a new house or whatever materialism you have. And one of the fastest ways, or one of the best ways to live your life as a man, or to improve your life as a man, is realize, who am I impressing? Who am I trying to live up to, or who am I trying to make happy? And it's always men. It's always the first thing is their mother, right? I want to find a nice girl, and it's
Bring
just
her
like,
home to mom.
yeah, like, do you really want a nice girl? Maybe you want the slutty chick with the fake tits. Maybe that's what you like, you know? Maybe you don't want a girl that's like Latina or white or black or Asian. Maybe you want a different race of girl. Maybe you want to play the field. Like, have you ever asked yourself that? And that makes men so miserable because they're constantly trying to make mom, dad, and it's not like it's their fault. It's not mom and dad's fault. They did the best they could, right? You always love your parents, but you know, there's always that feeling like, oh, mom's not gonna like this, or dad's gonna think this, or this and that. And it's the scariest thing for men is to live for themselves. It's terrifying, you know.
Damn.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy how we do that. And like, even with that decision that I made to take this job, all of those skills and what I was doing don't even relate to what I do today. They don't relate to any other job that I've done since. And now I'm finally in a position that I really enjoy and like fits with my skills and all of that. I made the dumbest decision in the world over a girl, and it just, all it did was cause problems. And I couldn't realize that until, you know, finally everything blew up at the end. And I still even went back and made the mistake twice. So it's just, you need to live up to you, not force yourself to live up to anybody else.
It's a shameless plug over to Ryan Stone's last two books, but literally you guys, both Nuke and Huds, are described in Frame and Dread, like the Cliff Note versions of them right now.
Yeah, I read the books. You can't live. like living in this do everything, make everyone else happy, it works sometimes, right? There's people that get to retirement, they get to 60, 70, 80 years old, and they live a full life having always done more for everyone else and for themselves, But right now it's starting to get harder to do that because social media and everything, the reality is starting to set in harder for men, especially from a younger age, where back then, you didn't have to do much to secure, a woman in marriage, whether she liked you or not. She could have just been with you because cultural pressure, social pressure, and all that stuff. Now, you have a choice. Now or women have a choice now. They don't have to like you. You don't get to have a woman because you came there first, right? You have to actually accept your masculine burden of performance and realize, like, how do I attract the right woman for me? I can't just go to work, come home, watch the football game with the Miller Lite. I actually have to perform a little bit more. But at the end of the day, once you start asking yourself the questions of what you want, why do I feel like this? Why am I not happy? Why am I not this? And you can slowly start pulling the layers back of the big lie, which is you have to think like a woman, act like a woman, date like a woman. You have to set yourself on fire to make others happy. Don't ever, it's like that book. When I say no, it makes me feel, when I say no, it makes me feel bad or feel guilty.
When I say no, I feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's a good book.
And people, and then the saddest part about all this is that once you start asking yourself those questions, people will attack you. And it's not to be the woman that's going to attack you. It's going to be men, right? When men see you that you dated one girl and then another girl within a 1 month span, they think, oh, that's sinful, or that's hate. You're a degenerate. And I'm like, degenerate? Because I'm not hurting anyone. And, I think it's more degenerate to live within your wife's frame. I think that's more degenerate, or your girlfriends or your moms or anything. I think it's very fundamental and very righteous and closer to God if you're religious, right? To be a man that calls his own morality, makes his own morality and what he thinks is right, seeks the right people, and he treats he gets to decide the role woman has in his life and not the other way around. So
Yeah.
Damn.
That's great.
So
All right.
AJ,
Yep.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, Mike. Like,
all right.
Yeah.
So AJ, now that you're back, since we're going in reverse to wrap the show up, what's a non-woman related battle scar that you have?
Do you want physical or do you want emotional? Because I can give you one. I can give you a good example off of the same ship in the Navy, real fast.
If you do both, just do them twice as fast.
Yeah. So physical, 2009, September, was my parents' anniversary. I was going to get a checkout from one of the engineering laboratory technicians on the USS Seawolf. He was busy, said come back after he's doing the primary sample. Said, okay, whatever. Start heading up the ladder off the ship. They had the escape trunk removed. They had this, what we call a dog shack, which sits up higher than the actual escape trunk. So apparently I fell from the top.
Damn,
Last thing I remember was staying up ladder. Next thing I know, I'm being woken up in between the main engines by EMTs with the captain and the chief of the boat standing over me. They had to crane me off the ship and all this other good stuff. Had a minor concussion, lost about 3% of motion in my right shoulder, and had sciatica for a few years.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah,
I have been down one of those hatches. Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm the reason why every shipyard that does Navy submarines has to have a cage around the dog shacks now. I'm that guy.
They're the reason. Holy shit.
I'm the reason why. I hit a shipyard worker on the way down as I was walking underneath the ladder, so he broke my fall.
Save your life.
Some big shipyard, Bubba. About 6 months to a year, 8 months later, I just got back from my ride with the USS Ohio back on the Seawolf. We're doing some maintenance. Reactor shut down, cooled down, solid. Doing a friggin' trip point calibration check on T-cold 3, channel 3 for cold leg temperature. And P&I 1 and P&I 3 are sitting right next to each other. Identical cabinet.
I'm getting PTSD right now, but continue.
Yeah. Second time I ever done maintenance on the Seawolf. I did plenty of maintenance when I rode to Ohio.
Yeah.
I went to T-cold 1 instead of T-cold 3 and put it in test, caused an alarm. We had a critique.
Wow.
I messed up during the critique when they asked me if I had to perform maintenance prior to the incident. I said no. I was nervous. We had naval reactors there, plus squadron there.
Oh,
right after that critique.
Not the glowies. The glowies were there.
Yeah. Right after that critique, I went up to my EDMC, which is like the top enlisted guy for the engine room. Said, hey, man, I screwed up. I should have said yes when I should have said no. 2 days later, I'm in front of the commanding officer in my dress blues, green table. False official statement is my charge. Kicked off the boat. NEC removal pending. I got lucky that the Commodore of Squadron 5 hated the captain of the Seawolf. Declined the NEC removal and sent me up to the Henry M. Jackson. So I learned having integrity is totally situational. There's times when you need to have integrity, and there's times when you don't have integrity. If you're wrong, stay fucking wrong.
Oh, I got a story, but I don't know. It has to do with the Russians and.
Hey, let's hear it.
Is it declassified?
Yeah, I could talk about it. Okay, so
is this your battle scar?
Yeah, this is. I'm never gonna get over this. I don't think I will, but I'll be quick, right? So we are doing exercises near the Arctic Circle, near Norway, something like that. It's like 2018, and I am reactor operator, meaning I am controlling the plant and all that stuff. I have a watch officer. He's a recent college graduate, so I'm the most experienced person in the plant in terms of time in the military and knowledge of the plant. So, which is how it usually is. Ask AJ. That's how it usually is.
Yeah, the RO is really the guy in charge. It's not the officer. It's the RO.
Yeah. So we get a casualty. Some valve in the plant pops off. Right. That's okay. It's a pressure valve. It'll seat itself, but we got to check it out. We got to take our actions. So we take a couple actions, whatever. And my job is to also calm down the watch officer, the college kid behind me. Tell him, hey, dude, relax. It's gonna be okay. And then my buddy is in the other plant, and he's because each carriers have 2 nuclear plants, right? And one was down. And when one's down, you lose redundancy because you can't rely on just one. You need 2 in case one shuts down by accident. So my friend is in the other plant. He's down, and I'm up. Meaning everything has to be perfect. There's no maintenance going on. And we have to be extra careful and extra vigilant so we don't go dead in the water. And the Russians see us floating around dead in the water, and we make the news, and the Pentagon gets mad or whatever, right? So a lot of pressure, but I'm whatever. I'm half asleep. I'm doing fine. And then we start getting alarms. Things start shutting down and all that. And I start crapping my pants. I'm like, oh shit. So I take my actions and all that. And basically, I'm trying to keep the ship on because we are the source of power. Because if we lose power on the ship, everyone has to wake up at 2 a.m. to, set the ship in a wartime configuration because we are dead in the water. So I do my best. No one comes down to help me except my boss, my senior chief. There's smoke on the 4th deck. We're behind the control room, and it's because the generators are kicking on because a lot of the systems are going down, right? Come to find out, the electricians downstairs are doing work on the generators, and they messed up a generator frequency control system, right? I forgot what the name is. And I was fighting a casualty. Finally, after 4 hours of keeping the ship on, I am relieved. I get a pat on the back. Congratulations. And my friend, he starts up his plant, and we're good to go. 3 days later, we get called in for a critique, but it's like a lower level, like fact finding. The captain sends out a memo to us, the crew, saying, you guys are heroes. Thank you. You kept the ship on. And then our reactor officer, which was kind of a hard ass, said, good job, guys, but I have questions, right?
Uh-oh.
And then started with me because, the RO is I get all of the brunt because I am, the ownership, And I'm like, yeah, this is what I did. This is what I did. Like, oh, good job. And then the RO starts blaming everyone as a way to bait everyone to saying more than they have to. And I know this game. So I said, no, I'm not. I did what I did. You're not going to make me say something I didn't do. He goes up all the chain of command, and my piece of shit there's like this watch officer above who he controls both plants. He just knocks responsibility back down. He doesn't step up and say, hey, we as a team messed up. We did this, we did that, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I basically said, and then it came down to me. He kept grilling me, and he said, did you know that we lost instrumentation? And I'm like, yes. Did you not think to set a tactical situation, which means make the ship go into a wartime configuration as if we're going to war? I'm like, sir, I was not going to wake up all 5,000 people on the ship to make the ship go into a wartime configuration and not wait 30 seconds to see what was going on. I got my license removed for 10 weeks because I didn't utter the phrase, sir, recommend tactical situation. And I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And the lesson here is it doesn't matter how good or competent or what call you make. sometimes you will always be the villain. You will always be the bad guy, the guy who messed up. So you just got to move on. I got made fun of. I had to sit down with people for 30 minutes to explain what happened because it was just so complicated and all that. And then after that, I got kind of bitter because I was like, what is this all for? Like, I trained so hard. I worked so hard. I try to get in everyone's good graces. Just because I didn't utter 3 words, I'm getting my license taken away for 10 weeks and everyone hates me because I can't support the watch rotation. So I got bitter, and that's just a life lesson. That's my scar, and I'll carry that for the rest of my life. That no matter how hard you work, sometimes you don't get rewarded. You get punished for doing the right thing. So yeah.
Damn.
Totally feel you there, man. Totally feel you with like me writing myself out and still getting masted for false official statement.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. And you gotta take the L and realize that that's life. There's nothing else. That's just life. What can you do? You know.
Well, it certainly happened to me too. I mean, I have a physical scar because I got in a hurry. I cut corners, and I was the bad guy. But because of that, I ran into 12,000 volts that shredded my body and my hands and took physical pain for years and reconstructive surgeries because of my ego. And I was the bad guy. And eventually I went around and told everybody and took that on the chin. So that scar was shown to everybody so that they could avoid the mistakes that I made because I was in a hurry and I had let my ego get in the way. And those are important lessons to pass on. I think we all do that when we're growing up. That's one of my battle scars right there. That's more physical. I think physical battle scars can be important. They can be avoided, but they definitely teach you about guidelines and limitations in life. You just have to be fortunate enough that they don't kill you. Then you become stronger.
Yeah, and that's
ain't that the truth? I'll make this story really quick, but I had a cut that I got in college, and I didn't treat it, and it ended up, I don't remember exactly what it was, like a staph infection or something, but it was getting worse. Yeah, and so I was within a day of losing my leg when I just remember limping towards the medical facility on campus, and I actually ran into my sister randomly there because we went to the same school, and she was like so worried about me, and I still have this like big section that's like taken out of my leg, but it was within a day of losing my left leg.
wow.
These are important lessons to pass because a lot of young guys we all feel invincible as young men, even sometimes as old men, because we had enough scars that we understand our limitations and we like to push past it because that's where life really is on that edge. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And, a lot of guys don't survive that. You can see it all the time.
Wraith, sir, do you have a battle scar that is not related around love or women?
You're muted right now.
So let's see, battle scars. Been stabbed 3 times. Been had a broken neck in a vehicle accident in the war. 17 surgeries on a burnt leg and 3 surgeries on a crushed skull. So, yeah, I'm good.
Wraith, you're prior military and law enforcement, right?
Prior military, prior law enforcement, yeah.
I didn't even go down my list, but it looks like the Drakars definitely are an extremely tough group of individuals that are quite durable.
Yes.
I guess
durable.com.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess for Wraith, then it's not going to be a question of how do other men avoid this. It's going to be tell us how you push through the pain. I guess would be the best one.
Well, because of the neck injury and the back injury, I'm in pain every day, so it doesn't.
But I mean, getting stabbed and a fractured skull and all of that. I mean, that didn't feel tickly. I wager.
I don't know. It's you choose jobs, you have life, and you recover from it and you move on. I mean, it's not.
What choice do you have?
Right. I mean, just what Thor went through a few, months ago. I mean, you just accept it and move on. I mean, there's only two choices: you move on or you die.
That's right.
Hmm.
You know, and you know, I've got something going on now Thor knows about that I've been dealing with for the last 2 years. I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still working and still trying to make babies.
Yeah, Wraith and I got a long ways to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't focus on all the bad things that I've done or that's happened to me. I focus on what I'm going to do today, and you know, if I wake up tomorrow, that'll be what I focus on, what I do that day. And
Yes, sir.
you can't carry those burdens, guys. If I'm not a victim of my body, I've done things to my body, but I'm not a victim of it. You know, I get up every day and I work.
Oh, that's interesting because Ray, you know, since COVID, a lot of guys don't want to work, and I have seen a kind of a little bit of a trend towards guys using their body as a excuse to not work, not perform. Oh, I have this issue or that issue. I've literally heard it in the hospital from, you know, I can't assume too much about each individual, but I'm thinking in my mind, what an attitude shift, you know? And I think we probably didn't do ourselves any favors by, you know, offering the stimulus and all this daddy stuff and, you know, government as your parents to young men and women that didn't help them become sufficient enough in the tools that they need to be at least on average successful and have a good life. They're always looking outside.
Well, I mean, I can't fly right now for some, you know, because of something that's going on. And, you know, my boss, if he says anything about it, I say, pay me to drive or tell me you don't want me working for you anymore, and I'll go find something else to do.
Yeah, they won't do that.
You know, so
They're not going to do that.
It's just, you know, like I said, I'm not limited by, you know, anything other than what I limit myself by. And I set my limitations, no one else.
Yep. Oh, that's an important factor. Only us as individuals set our own limitations.
But, you know, as far as, you know, do I sit and pond being stabbed 3 times? No. Do I, you know, ponder on, you know, the issues with my leg, my back, my